I've watched veterans build equity, build a great rental, and then hand it all back every time they got new orders. They sell the house, they take the cash, they start over. After 35 years in uniform, I can tell you myself that this is not a wealth strategy. That's a treadmill. Here's how to stop the treadmill and get off. If this is your first time here, do me a favor, hit the like, subscribe, and tap that notification bell. I publish straight talk on real estate investing for veterans and first responders and serious civilians who want the unfiltered version. No hype, no filler, just execution. My name is Bud Evans. I did 35 years in the Air Force, 13 years in law enforcement. I'm a former mayor. I'm an active real estate investor in single family and small multifamily properties, and I'm the founder of a low-cost, investor-focused property management company. I mentor veterans in real estate. That's my background, and that's why I'm here. So let me tell you exactly how this treadmill works, because most vets don't recognize it while they're on it. You get your first set of orders, you buy your house near the base, you use your VA loan, you get a decent rate, you can settle in, right? 2 or 3 years later, new orders come down. You don't want to be a landlord from 2,000 miles away. You don't have a system, so you sell it. You pocket maybe $20,000, $30,000 in equity. If the market was good to you, you feel okay about it. Then you get to the new duty station, you buy another property, same process. Another 2 or 3 years, more orders, and you sell it again. By the time you retire after 20 years, you have owned 4, maybe 5 houses. You've paid transaction costs on every single one of them, realtor commissions on every single one of them, closing costs, moving expenses. You've restarted your mortgage amortization cycle every freaking time, which means you spent the first years of every loan paying mostly interest, and then you walk away from your military career with a pension and maybe one house that you currently live in. That's the treadmill. And the cruel part is it feels financially responsible the entire time you're doing it. You're building equity. You're not renting. You're making smart moves, you think, except the sum total of all these smart moves is close to zero when you add it up, what you spent in transaction costs, in lost compounding, and rental income. Now, let me show you exactly where the real cost lives, because this is the part that's going to sting a little bit. If you had converted that first house into a rental instead of selling it, and it produced $350 a month in net cash flow over the next 15 years, nothing changing, that would have generated $63,000 in cash flow alone before appreciation, before principal paydown, before any equity event. That's just the monthly income. Now let's do the math on the second house and the third. Veterans who figured this out early are not financial geniuses. They're not high earners. They just stopped the treadmill. They kept the asset and they hired the right people to manage it while they moved. The mistake here isn't the PCS. The military moves you. That's the mission. It's what it takes. The mistake here is believing that the move requires a sale, and it doesn't. And here's where the problem gets deeper. The reason that most veterans sell, it's not financial, it's operational. They don't have a property management system. They don't trust a stranger to manage their asset from a distance. They have heard the horror stories about bad tenants and deferred maintenance and property managers who collect fees and do nothing. See my last week's video. So they sell because selling feels safer than the risk of managing remotely. And that fear, it's not irrational. Bad property managers are a real problem. I built an entire company around solving it because I watched it destroy good investments over and over again. But the answer to bad property management, it's not selling the asset. The answer is building the right system before the orders even come, right? And that's where things turn around. It's the veteran who stops the treadmill. They don't do it by being braver or richer. They do it by solving the operational problem before it becomes an emergency. Now look, so if you're a veteran who wants to be in a room with people who have already solved this problem, I want to point you to the War Room with David Perret. It's a community built specifically for veterans navigating real estate investing. It's not a sales pitch. It's not a course funnel. It's a room full of serious investors doing all the work. Get in it, use it. The link is in the description. If you want to work with me directly, I do have one-off coaching calls. Go to budevans.com. It's not a sales pitch. I don't have a program. Let me give you the system here. The one that stops the treadmill before the next PCS happens. The first decision happens here before you buy the house the first time. When you're standing at the closing table as a service member, you need to ask yourself one question. If I get orders in 2 years, can this property cash flow as a rental? That single question will change everything about how you evaluate that purchase. It changes the price point you target. It changes the location you choose relative to your base. It changes the condition standards that you require. You're not just going to have to buy a home to live in. You're going to buy a home that's a potential income-bearing asset that, happens to be that you happen to be the first tenant of. This isn't a complicated shift, but it requires that you underwrite the deal twice. Once as a primary resident and once as a rental. And if it only works as a residence and falls apart as a rental, you're one set of orders away from being forced to sell the property. So look, step one, before you buy it, pull the current rental comps for that property type in that zip code. Not the Z estimate, right? That's not what we're talking about here. Actual comparable rentals currently on the market. Call property managers in that area and ask them what that house will rent for. That conversation costs you nothing and it gives you real data. Step 2, run the rental scenario conservatively. Take the projected rent, subtract the 10% vacancy factor, subtract your mortgage payment, property management fee, 8 to 10% of the collected rent. Subtract the monthly maintenance reserve, 1% of property value divided by 12. That number's positive or close to break even, then the property can survive as a rental when your orders come. If that number is deeply negative, you're buying a liability that you're going to be forced to liquidate later. Step 3, before you get orders, identify your property management solution, not when orders come, before. Research property managers in your area. Interview at least 3. Ask them specifically how they handle maintenance requests, how they screen tenants, what their eviction process looks like, and how they communicate with their remote owners. You want a property manager who's going to treat your asset like it's a business, not a side hustle. Step 4, when your orders come, execute the transition, not a sale. Place the property with your vetted property manager, brief them fully, establish communication protocols, set your maintenance authorization threshold, meaning what's that dollar amount below which they can approve repairs without your consent. Get the tenant placed before you leave, if at all possible. A vacant property with a new manager and an absent owner, it's really a high-risk scenario. So minimize that window, mitigate that risk. Step 5, build reserves before you leave. 3 to 6 months of mortgage payments sitting in a dedicated account for that particular property. Not your personal emergency fund. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a specific property reserve. This is where the buffer for vacancy between tenants or an unexpected repair or any gap in the management transition happens. Veterans understand that contingencies, right? You need a concept of contingency fund. Or veterans understand the concept of a contingency fund. This is that. It's for your asset, though. Step 6 is stay in the asset through your market cycles. Don't get rid of it. This is where discipline matters most. There's going to be a year where the water heater blows and the tenant leaves and you're carrying the mortgage for 6 weeks, and you're really going to feel like you just want to get rid of it. That's not a sign the strategy is failing. That's normal real estate. The investor who builds wealth are the ones who stay in the asset through the friction and let time and compounding do the work for them. Let's talk about common mistakes. Common mistakes break the system. Let's talk about them. Mistake 1, buying too much house. When you buy at the top of your approval amount as your primary residence, you're almost certainly buying something that will not cash flow as a rental. Buy below your approval ceiling. Leave margin in the deal. Mistake 2, choosing location based only on school districts and proximity to base without running the rental comps. A great neighborhood for a family is not automatically a great rental market. Run the numbers on the rental scenario before you fall in love with the house. Mistake 3, hiring the first property manager you find without vetting. Property management quality varies greatly. A bad property manager is going to cost you more than the management fee they charge. Vet them like you would a contractor on a critical mission. Check references. Ask the hard questions. Walk away if the answers are vague. Mistake 4, don't deplete your reserves to accelerate the paydown on the rental mortgage. I understand the instinct. Less debt feels better, but a rental property with no reserve account and a fully paid down mortgage that sits vacant for 3 months will still put you in a hole. Liquidity protects the asset. Keep the reserve funded. Mistake 5, treating the rental income as personal income before you have a mature reserve account. In the first 2 years of a rental, that income belongs to the property. It feeds the reserve, it covers deferred maintenance, it stabilizes the asset. Once that property is stabilized and the reserve is funded, then you take income, not before. All right. As always, let's give you a checklist that you can actually use. Use this before you buy and before your orders come in. Before purchasing, dual underwrite. Evaluate the property as a primary residence and also as a rental simultaneously. Pull actual rental comps from local property managers before you close, not automated estimates, and don't use the Z estimate. When's the last time Zillow's been to your house? All right, use conservative rental underwriting, 10% vacancy, 8 to 10% management fee, 1% annual maintenance reserve. If the property can't survive as a rental under conservative numbers, reconsider your purchase. Identify and interview at least 3 property managers in your area before your orders arrive, not after. Set your maintenance authorization threshold with your property manager in writing before you leave. Fund a property-specific reserve account of 3 to 6 months of mortgage payments before you leave. When the orders come, execute the rental transaction first. Sell only if the numbers make a compelling case for redeployment of capital. You had to have had substantial appreciation for that to happen. Next, leave rental income in the property account during the first 2 years to stabilize the asset. Don't just burn that money. Stay in the asset through the friction. Compounding requires time, so give it time. Hey, if this gave you something you can use, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell, and share this with as many friends as you can. I'm here twice a week with content built for people who want execution, not inspiration. Thanks for watching. I'm Bud Evans. Aim high, execute fast. See you on the next one.